Also, also, sorry, recording in progress. Good, we know that. Hi, I'm Livvie Mann, also a yoga teacher, also certified, I guess they call it master trainer in yoga for arthritis, which has been the focus of my teaching for the last several years, pushing a decade. Um, Very happy to be here. Peter, would you like to kick
Yeah,
us?
sure. So today we're going to talk about how to protect students while empowering them. And when I think about this topic, what comes to my mind is many yoga classes that I've taken myself, where the teacher will begin the class by saying, listen to your body and do what feels right for today. And it sounds great. And then when we get into the class, there are things that I really couldn't do. And when that happened, the teacher didn't say anything or do anything, even though I was struggling. And what happened in those instances is that I felt sometimes unsafe. I definitely did not feel empowered. And just the peer pressure of being in a class where everybody else was doing something that I couldn't do was really tough. And I usually would try to, do it somehow, even if it was almost hurting myself. So, when I think of that topic as a yoga teacher, and particularly as a yoga for arthritis teacher, think about coming into a class where your students who maybe have severe arthritis, they might have pain, they might be elderly with movement issues, how intimidating it is just to come to a yoga class and the psychological impact. So, how, as a teacher, can I keep the students safe as well as empower them? So, some of the ways that I would do that is, first of all, also by starting the class by saying, listen to your body and all that kind of thing. But I would also mention to the students that I will be showing different versions of each asana, each pose. And it is totally okay to pick whichever version of a pose feels good for your body today. And that none are one pose is not better than the other. It's just like a buffet of choices that you have. I would also assure students explicitly at the beginning of the class that if something really, really just doesn't feel right, it is totally okay not to do that posture. So in doing that, I try to empower the students to make good choices for their bodies. And then as I begin to show postures, again, I would always try to show the least challenging version of a posture first. And in doing that, try to normalize that so that people feel comfortable doing that. And that could be as simple as how high you raise your arm, but it could also be really showing a posture standing, how to do it seated in a chair or possibly against a wall. Sometimes I would also do things like specifically talk, let's say, about the arms, that as we go through the class, there'll be movements where we'll be lifting the arms, and I'm going to show you how to do the poses with the arms at different heights. Again, so you're comfortable, just do it where you feel comfortable, because many, many students have trouble, lifting their arms way overhead. And in doing those things, I really feel like I can empower the students. And then as we begin the class, the other thing that I do sounds very simple, but I really try to observe very, very intently what each student is doing. And if it looks like they're either doing something that's unsafe or they're really having trouble, I try to offer alternatives or some sort of help that will help to keep them safe. I don't just leave them hanging out there, um, and what I'll try and do is usually give the correction or the advice to the whole class. But if it's, really one person is really, really struggling, I will help that person individually. And I think that doing some of those things helps to keep the students safe and really empowers them to feel comfortable to make good choices for their own body. And it sounds really deceptively simple. It almost sounds like so simple, why would you even say it? But I know from my own experience, both myself in yoga classes, but also in watching teachers teach other students, that a lot of teachers just don't do those things. So that's my rather wordy take on that. So I'll turn it over to Livvie.
Thanks, Peter. That was good. Building on what Peter said about being able to teach a safe class, being able to teach multiple levels at once, being able, excuse me, to build a buffet of asanas, excuse me, gracious, is really important. And that's something that we work on in the Yoga for Arthritis teacher training, the foundations, um, is to get us as teachers feeling comfortable teaching multiple levels at once. It's a little bit like a juggling act. There's no question that it takes practice, which is why we have so many opportunities in the foundations course for students to actually teach courses and be critiqued on them. Um, for me, as in all yoga, the challenge may seem like it's in the physical asana. The challenge is actually something more internal. And so when we talk about ahimsa, in the context of people who are dealing with chronic pain, we're really asking them to increase their awareness of what their body is doing. Um, it's a thing with people. Maybe it's just Americans. I don't know. There's a thing with people that you kind of want to power through. You want to get there no matter what. What Peter was describing about an intimidating class situation where you have to feel that you have to do things that you're really not prepared to do. People who feel the urge, feel the need, feel the wish to do all of it and do more, um, are going to have trouble. They're going to, especially if they're already in any kind of chronic pain or have any kind of arthritic conditions. So the idea is to, rather than say, don't do more, say, do as much as you can, but be aware of what that is. Uh, we often, the language that we use sometimes is enter the pose to the point where, while it feels comfortable, to the point where it starts to feel uncomfortable, and then back off a tad. You never want to get to that point where you're pushing through, where you're going for greater sensation, because it's ultimately not a good idea. Um, the whole idea of being aware, that's yoga. I mean, that's yoga. You're focusing, you're paying very close attention to what's happening in your body, to the exclusion of what is going on around you, what other students may be doing, to the exclusion of what your 18-year-old mind might be saying about, I used to be able to do this in my sleep. And just centering in your body in that moment and being very attentive to the sensations. And a wonderful part about that, this is like another side of it, is that in the process of developing that kind of awareness, not the easiest thing in the world, is you begin to learn the difference between pain and fear of pain. I've had so many instances in class where students are frightened. They're frightened to do something that it's fear rather than a physical limitation. And as it happens, once somebody is safely brought into something through a series of increasingly challenging movements or poses, and they learn that they can do it, that is they can do it safely and without pain. That is a terrific empowerment, a terrific empowerment. That's sort of a side thing to what I was talking about, which is the idea of that awareness of ahimsa, that awareness of your body being the central protection. And Peter will know this too, you often can't see what students are doing. You can't, particularly if you're teaching online, which so many of us are these days, you often can't see it. So the greatest gift, the greatest empowerment you can give your students is the ability to check themselves, to be aware of what they're doing, to be aware of keeping themselves straight, safe, and prioritizing that. So there's the physical, the food body of teaching to people with pain and with challenges. And then there's that more inner way of teaching to them to develop their own awareness of their own body, their own confidence in what they're doing. And these are all things we will, in the course of the foundations course, we'll be working toward that on multiple levels. Of course, we'll be bringing into the process breath, meditation, all ways of focusing on your body, being aware of your body, being aware of what's happening to you going on. And then, as I said, there are the practicums, the student teaching, where you will teach a group of your fellow students. Peter and I will watch like hawks and critique, perhaps not in the most yogic way. Well, we will be as yogic as you can about it, but we will really be asking you to do it, to be more, to embody all of the ways of guiding students through into an ahimsa rich practice. And by combining all of those things, hopefully we give you the tools to move comfortably in front of a class of people who maybe aren't that comfortable. I do know this is a personal recollection when I first came into the yoga for arthritis training. This is Lord knows when. An issue that I was having in some of my classes as the students were getting older was that I was afraid of hurting them. I had a real issue with that. I didn't want to be the one that made somebody say, ouch. I didn't want to do anything untoward. And that really sapped my confidence. Once I had the yoga for arthritis tools, I was able to come in front of a class knowing that I wasn't about to do any harm, that I had the ability to make a class enriching and empowering and good for all sorts of levels of physical ability. So yeah, that's me. That's my approach. And Peter, what more would you like to add?
Well, I just thought since you kind of started talking about it, Livvie and I will be teaching the Yoga for Arthritis Foundations training beginning Sunday, January 18th for 6 Sundays. And it is a really rich training. The heart of it, or some of it that we've been talking about, are, how to teach safely, how to have students be empowered. And that includes really learning how to adapt asanas, both at a macro level, like doing something standing versus in a chair versus against a wall, but also learning how to go joint by joint and really support and offer adaptations to teach people safely. But it's much more than just that in terms of the training. The training is based on the most current evidence-based science about arthritis and yoga, and it's really rich with all of that kind of information. So it's got a lot of information that way. It also has some yoga philosophy. It includes, pranayama and meditation and a variety of yoga practices. So it's a very holistic training. So to me, I think of it as the perfect balance. I mean, both between practical teaching skills and actually doing, some of these, doing the asanas or whatever, but also theoretical and again a whole person approach, not just like you know a muscle approach or a joint approach. So it's really great training and a lot of fun. Actually, it ends up being a lot of fun. I know we've taught it
A
together
lot of
several
fun.
times.
You'll love Peter. One of the things that has stayed with me most, or the thing that I think moved my practice as a teacher the most, was the way the Yoga for Arthritis Foundations is structured. It's based on the koshas. It's based on the kosha model. And yet it interweaves that with the biopsychosocial model that's used in medicine nowadays, where you're looking, as Peter said, the whole person, but it really relates the two ways of thinking. That sort of Western scientific medical way of thinking, it intertwines it beautifully with the yogic way of perceiving the body as five layers, as five koshas. Uh,
Actually, can I jump in? So
yeah,
we had a
please
question that
do.
popped up, and someone
Yes.
just said, "What is the biopsychosocial, and what is the kosha model?" So do you guys want to talk a little bit about
Go ahead.
that
You can take it or I can
briefly?
jump in.
Sure. So the biopsychosocial model is, I guess, a model of health, a model of looking at health conditions. So instead of just saying, well, you have a pain in your knee because you have arthritis in your knee, it looks at it does look at the biological factors that would affect the knee, but it also looks at the psychological factors, the stressors in your life and things like that, and different things. And also in terms of biology, also your genes and things like that, and also the social aspects. So it's a more holistic way of looking at a health situation, not just, again, you have pain in your knee. And it fits very well with a yogic model. Again, yoga looks at things in a holistic manner. And actually, we do the psychosocial spiritual model now to include the spiritual in that. Um, did you want to talk about the kosher model, or you want me? I don't care.
Yeah, happy to, happy to. So
Yeah.
where that fits in with what Peter was describing, the biopsychosocial, um, psychosocial, spiritual. Thank you, Peter, for adding that. Is that you're beginning with the Annamaya kosha, the food body. You're thinking about the prana, the energy body. You're thinking about the oh God, names are slipping. All the different layers of being that we have, all with the ultimate, that enlightened um, kosha. But you're working with the body, you're working with the energy, you're working with the spirit. All of those things go into who you are as a person and how you're feeling as a person, and matching that, not a precise match, but matching that, interweaving, I guess is a better way of saying it, interweaving that with the biopsychosocial spiritual model is a really useful way of being able to think about your students, but also about your own practice.
So maybe just to add a little bit to what Livvie was saying about the kosher model, in yoga philosophy, it's believed that people are made up of five sheaths that
Thank you.
go from the gross to the subtle. So the grossest is your physical body, and then there's like a breath body, which is an energy body, and then there's one body considered the mind. And then there's an intuitive body, and then there's finally what is considered to be the bliss body, the spiritual body. So this training incorporates that whole yogic philosophy and how we approach the different sections that we train in. So whoever asked that question, if you take this training, you will learn also about some yoga philosophy, some very wonderful and heavy stuff that has can be very helpful in your practice of yoga, your personal practice.
Someone just asked, can you repeat when the training is and how long it runs for?
It starts on January 18th, which is soon, next Sunday.
Sunday.
It runs from 12 to 4 and it runs for 6 consecutive Sundays.
That's
And
awesome.
there will be
And,
working.
and just to mention, so we use a learning platform called Thinkific, which if you haven't used it, it's an online platform. So you would have everything online, except initially the parts that we do live. So you can go back and study on your own. And there are also readings and different things that you will be doing on your own in addition to those 6 sessions. So it's really got a lot of wonderful information, and it's very user friendly. Again, both because we do stuff live, but you have access to everything on your own time as well.
I'm actually going to jump in here real fast and just kind of tell people about how you can join. So we made you a coupon code if you're interested in joining to get 20% off your price. And if you use the code Grateful 2026, that'll get you 20% off either the training with Livvie and Peter, or if you want to join Livvie and Peter and you want to become a yoga for arthritis specialist and purchase the bundle, it'll also get you a percentage off of that as well. So that code is Grateful 2026. What I want to reiterate about this training is it is a hybrid. So sometimes what we see happening is people joining live train or joining self-paced trainings and then stalling in the middle, right? And we don't want that to happen. We want you to have the support of a community, support of your teachers, and accountability week by week to move through these. So while you're meeting on Sunday, you're going to be having videos and readings and modules in between. So at the end of it, it's going to be 34 hours of CEUs, and that can be either towards Yoga Alliance or IAYT. And yeah, it's super fun. Join. Yoga for Arthritis changed my life, as I'm sure anybody that has ever taken the training will say. Livvie and Peter, do you want to say anything else about it? I think.
Want to check, Kylie, see if there are more questions, maybe things we've missed? Is there anything in the chat?
Oh, yeah. Someone said, how am I hurting my students? What poses do I avoid? That's a really good question.
That
Come to our training and find out.
no, but I understand. I understand where that question is coming from. That was me back in my somewhat less empowered, less confident as a teacher period. Because you maybe freeze a little bit. Like that woman seemed to be having trouble walking in. Maybe I shouldn't let her have her bend her knees at all. Um, I can't say specific poses that are bad for people because I don't know the people, and they may only be bad in the sense that they're being performed to the extreme. That they might be perfectly accessible poses if they're made accessible. Um, I don't I wouldn't say avoiding poses is the way. I think it's more about learning ways for students to receive the benefits of the poses safely.
That was a beautiful answer. And then we had one more is how does yoga help my clients with arthritis? And that's also a giant answer to someone or a giant question to someone.
Again, that goes, sorry to interrupt you, Kelly. That goes back to the whole person model. All of the studies, there have been decades. There's been nearly a decade of studies of yoga for arthritis. And the way it helps specifically, we'll go joint by joint. The way it helps specifically is by strengthening the muscles around the affected joints. Arthritis is a disease of the joints, and you strengthen the muscles around the joints. I'm touching my knee right now, but I could be touching my shoulder. I could be doing anything. Strengthen the muscles around those joints to make using them less painful. What else is going on, the studies have shown, is that people are getting stronger. They're getting more limber, more flexible, so that they're able to move better. The whole goal of this is to be able to live your life better. What's happening along the way is because pranayama is included, because meditation is included, the general well-being is improved in the course of the yoga. Like you're working on the QOL, quality of life in a daily sense, as you work physically with the asanas, with the pain, but you're also working on all sorts of other ways of coping, whether it's meditation, whether it's gratitude, whether it's breath work. All of those things come into it. So that you're looking to protect a joint, but also you're looking to make the whole organism, like the person, better
Mm.
able to deal with the hand they've been dealt.
And just to add a little to what Livvie was saying, and we would go over this in a lot more detail in the course, some of the non-physical components of yoga and yoga for arthritis are really critical. So, for example, there is research that shows that meditation can actually change the structure of the brain, and it can change the structure in the places that are affected by pain. So by teaching meditation, you can actually help patients both to manage pain better and potentially actually to reduce pain, not necessarily eliminate it, but and again, some of the other practices like pranayama have important impacts as well. So again, it's a holistic training, but the short answer to your question is yoga, helps arthritis and pain conditions in a lot of different ways. And there is evidence-based research to that effect.
We had one more question that came in, and it said, how do I repair the harm I already did accidentally?
Oh my gosh. I don't know what to say to that. I think I even knowing more about the context, I'm not sure that I would be able to answer that. I'm not sure what level you're approaching that question from.
The only thing I would just say is that from a yoga point of view, we always want to live right now in the moment, right? So wherever you, rather than worrying about what you did in the past, you want to think about where you are now and what are the best things you can do to keep yourself healthy and whatnot right now. Um, I don't know if that would repair things from the past, but maximize what you have going for you now.
We know what we know until we know better, and then we do better. So, all right.
I'll
So
sit.
just to reiterate, we start Sunday. Do you want to give them the specifics one last time? Also, I do want to say I'm going to spotlight myself for a minute. Um, I know we had a technical glitch right in the middle where we lost the live stream for a second. So I had a question pop up. You will get a recording. Um, and also, I'll let Livvie and Peter tell you about the training one more time. And then if you go to sign up, it's Grateful 2026 is the code. All right, one more time, guys. Tell them
Sunday,
about the training.
Sunday at noon, uh,
12 to 4,
12 to 4.
and for 6 consecutive Sundays. And we would love it if you would join us.
Yeah. I want to reiterate something that Kylie mentioned, but a little more specifically. It has been shown that people who launch onto self-guided courses where you're your own sort of leader, that the dropout rate is something like 85%.
It's
And
actually closer to 90.
closer to 90? Okay,
Yeah.
thanks, Code. I know for me that I would probably be one of the, I've never tried it, but I would probably be one of the people who fell by the wayside. For me, it's really important to have people and to have a deadline. It's so easy to just let things slide, but if you have people that you're on some level, even if it's a Zoom screen, responsible to, and that you can relate to, and if you have a deadline, I find that super, super helpful in getting me to where I actually want to go with a course.
And also, it's a rich learning environment because we learn from each other. I mean, it's just great for learning and have a nice little community.
Yeah. Hope to see
I
you.
totally agree.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys very, very much for hopping on and teaching
Okay.
Ahimsa in action. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you for
Thank
your
you.
time, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.